Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, because we broadcast to over 100 different countries around the world. So it might be different time zones wherever you are. But thank you for joining us today. This is Today's Africa on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio with your host, Dr. FM, Francis Munangi Mpindu. We're delighted you've joined us. We are aware that people do have commitments and other things that take priority every now and again. And so for you to decide to join us today, we are delighted. And again, thank you for joining us. We are on air live every Saturday, 11 Eastern Standard Time. And we are right here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. And would like to encourage you to subscribe, to like, and share the channel with others as well. Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio is a unique radio station that is on 24/7. And I really mean that 24/7. There's so many programs. And of course, when it comes to today's Africa, we're dealing with matters pertaining to Africa on various topics, and we do invite different guests around the world to be part of our conversation. We believe in let's dialogue to discover so that we decide what the next steps are in terms of who we are representing ourselves in this global village so that other people get to understand what are some of the things that are going on in Africa, the exciting things, the challenges. And so today we are delighted to have a young man, and I should make that qualification disclaimer right away. We're delighted to have a young man all the way in Africa, and we're going to bring him in so that he can let us know who he is. Our topic for today is we're looking at work opportunities, employment opportunities for young adults in Africa. And this young man is a young adult. And so we are in for a real treat. And again, thank you for joining us on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. This is your host, Dr. FM, and we are on Today's Africa. So we do have a guest, and we're glad, even though sometimes, given the technological challenges and distances between us, we are glad that this young man has joined us. And I am delighted that we are able to connect. Like I said, he's all the way in Africa. And in a moment, we will let him introduce himself and tell us who he is. So, Siposenkosi, Kadzutu,
Good
all the
day.
way
Good
in
evening.
Africa. Thank you for joining us today. All we know from some of the things that we have circulated to our listeners and viewers is that you are a speaker, you are an author, and you are an entrepreneur. So, who is Sipo Senkosi? I actually looked up your name and I said, is it gift of God? Is it gift from God? What do you go by in terms of meaning?
It's the Lord's gift. I hope I'm
The
audible.
Lord's the Lord's gift. Okay,
Yes.
that's a wonderful name.
Thank you
And not
so
all,
much.
and
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning to
yes.
everyone.
So who is Sipo?
That's a very good question. Sipo is I like to call myself a simple guy. I'm a very simple guy. Just doing my best to make an impact in the world. I really believe in uniting the world and taking all and leaving a legacy. So I think that's in long and short of it, that could be me. Yeah, I'm big on goal setting, big on goal getting, big on personal development. I'm always looking for ways to get better and get ahead, and also to help other people as well. And yes, and this is such a great opportunity to be able to speak here and speak with the Doctor FM. Yeah.
Thank you very much. You are very kind, Sipo. Sipo, you're one of those young people, and we like to do this with our young people. Every now and again, I might put you on the spot, and I will start by putting you on the spot. You are a young man. Sipo, how old are you? If you don't mind
Um,
saying it on public, national, international platform.
I'm 24 years old, turning 25 end of the year. So yeah.
Sipo, to know that you are 24, turning 25 in the near future, I'm hearing you talk about a simple guy who wants to make a difference, leave a legacy. You're big on goal setting and you are big on personal development. When I was your age, I wasn't thinking along those lines, Sipo. So we are really looking forward to getting to understand what are some of the things that have contributed to you thinking this way and having this mindset. And then we will get into our topic for the day a little later on. But now just let us know what is it that makes you at 24, Sipo? You are an author, you are a business young man, you are a businessman, you are an entrepreneur, you are a speaker, and you're talking about leaving a legacy. You're talking about personal development and goal setting. And I'm thinking, wow, when I was your age, those were not priorities for me. So, how did you arrive at this?
Well, firstly, by God's grace, I think God gave me a wonderful mother who sent me to great schools, and I think those are some of the things that shaped me. My upbringing had a lot of great examples, people to look up to, and people always push you to strive for better. And I think when it comes to people used to always call me serious at the age that I'm at, but sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, I'm still far behind. I need to catch up. But it's only now that I've gotten to a place where I now understand that. Where I got to a point where I start talking about goal setting and personal development is when I realized that everything starts in the mind. So the minute you understand that everything you are and everything you ought or we want to be starts in the mindset, you're going to start working on uh, becoming a better person. And the only way you can do that is if your mindset is developed. And for you to develop your mindset, you need to focus on personal development. And I think that's what then got me to author my first book, Becoming 19, which has nothing to do with age, because the book is just based on principles that you can apply whether you're 19 or 91 years old. Principles always remain the same. Growing up, I was taught that feelings, after every feeling, there's nothing. But after every principle, there's a definite and guaranteed promise. So once you realize that and understand that, it stops being about your feelings, but about the principle, the action that you need to initiate, execute, then you get the result. So I think that sort of caters or will then also build into my life philosophy, which is take or live a legacy. So taking all is obviously an action you need to implement, go for that goal, and then living a legacy. Most people think of legacy as trophies and obviously an inheritance. Yes, that's a legacy, but those are things that will fade away at some point. But a true legacy is what you write in people's hearts and how you impact them. So that's also a message that you get to preach through words and most importantly through your actions. So doing my best. I'm just like I said, a simple guy doing my best to find how best I can impact the world, impact people using the gifts that I've been given. um, and yeah, I think that's how I can sort of describe how I arrived to that point. Yeah.
That is really fascinating, Sipo, and thank you for being so articulate and being able to communicate with clarity the things that you value and the process that you have gone through to be the kind of young man that you are today. And I think you started that on a good note. You said by God's grace. And I can see that as being part of your name as well. You know, that there's that recognition of God, you know, the sovereign God, Lord, who is in charge of our lives. But then you realize, yes, I am a gift, I am a blessing, but I need to do something with that. And what you just mentioned is just really, really helpful in terms of understanding who you are. Now, you said you wrote a book. Tell us a little bit about that book, just briefly. How would you like? I would love to get a copy of that book, and I'll find a way to get it. So, l- tell us about that book. How did you write that book? What is it about?
So I authored the book in 2020. Started dancing around the idea end of 2019. So I actually wrote the book when I was 19 years old and launched it in 2020. How, well, like I said, everything starts in the mind. And my favorite chapter in the book, is just start. Right? Most people wait for the right time. And when you wait for the rain to be correct, the weather to be favorable, and the land to be nice and clear for you to plant your seeds, you never really get the right time. So the book is there to push you to just start on that goal. Right? You want to be on radio, get on with it. Get an interview, and jump onto radio. If you want to be a speaker, open your selfie camera, go on a live, then start speaking. So it's really all about action, and as you act, put principles in it, right? And one of the things that I emphasize on is on do not be mediocre. Live a life of excellence. I once heard a quote that was quite interesting, that in a world full of mediocrity, you just need to go a little bit higher than what people are doing for you to be exceptional. So if you look around in your field, whatever industry that you're in, just a little bit of oomph, will take you to the next level. And that's what the book Becoming 19 is all about. Just apply a principle in the correct way, whether whether you are in America, in Zimbabwe, in Japan, 1 plus 1 is always equals to 2. So the same thing applies to principles, right? For example, the principle of seed time and harvest. If you don't plant anything, don't expect anything from the ground. The land says, give me your seed, not your need. So you need to put in your seed so that you can reap a harvest. So just start on the principles that have been given to us and that are written all over the universe, any part of the world. So that's what the book is really all about, that equip your mindset with the right principles for you to get to the next level in your life, for you to get to a point where you're a high performer, achieve all you want to achieve, and eventually get to a point where you leave a legacy.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, you're in for a real treat today. We have Sipo Kadzutu, all the way in Zimbabwe, as our guest today as we talk about work opportunities for young adults in Africa. And in a moment, we'll be diving into that topic. But Sipo, you have started us on a very, very good note. Just
I'm humbled.
letting us know that it's not about age; it's about principles, and I like that word, principles. And you have shared a little bit in terms of some of the things that have contributed to who you are, just your upbringing, the role of your mother in your life, and having opportunity to go to good schools, which again touches on education as part of preparation in life. And so we are really, really delighted that you have joined us. Now, you also say that you are a speaker. Could you give us briefly, I mean, could you tell us briefly some of the speaking opportunities, and how did you get into speaking at such a young age?
So my speaking journey started in high school. So basically, I had I really loved this subject because of the teacher. She was my French teacher. So, you know, high school student, high testosterone. There's always that one teacher that you just look up to. I'm like, yes, she's just amazing. So I really looked up to her. She was my French teacher. And then one day, as we finished our French period, just as she was walking out the door, she literally turned in such a dramatic way and she looked at me and she said, Kadzutu, come for debate, 2 p.m. at the library. Obviously, because I loved this teacher so much, I made sure I was there present for that debate session. And I was only 13 years old then. And I got there. I When I got into the room, there was such eloquent speakers, and I was the youngest person in the room because most of them were 2 years older than me, 4 years, and all the way up to A level. And I remember one week after I had just joined the debate society, we had a speaking social at one of the girls' schools in Harare called Chisapiti. So you can imagine this is my first week on debate, and then I had to go and present in front of girls. And I remember the only thing that I managed to say, I stood up and I said, the name is Kadzutu, Kadzutu Siposenkosi. And guess what? My mind sat down soon after that. So, so nothing came out of my mouth. It was all just mumbo jumbo until I finished. So basically, that's when my speaking journey started. And I remember soon after that social, I started going on, platforms like YouTube, looking up great speakers so I can become a better speaker. Already, I had already started, watching people like the likes of Barack Obama, um, Choir, and all these other great speakers in the world. I would go all the way back to Winston Churchill, just studying the craft of speaking because I really wanted to be a great speaker. So the following year, I actually made it into the junior debate team, which was quite impressive for at my school. And fast forward into that, as soon as I finished high school, in fact, before high school, I've had the privilege to go debate in countries like Spain and America, did quite well. And then I got into Toastmasters. That's when I really stepped into professional speaking. So I joined Toastmasters International in Zimbabwe. And so far, with regards to Toastmasters International, I've been Zim champion once in 2020 and ranked top six best speaker in Southern Africa in 2020 as well. So that was quite an achievement. And I've also had the privilege to speak to schools. So if you had to visit my social media, you get to see the schools that I've spoken to, some of the corporates that I've had the privilege to address, as well as using this communication tool to go train prefects, as well as those are some of the opportunities that I've received or had the honor to uh, have had the honor to use my gift to speak into people's lives. So that's how I got into professional speaking. And this year, I'm really planning to go big and just double down on my speaking gift because it's something that we have been given. So we really need to use it to serve the world. So my hope is to be an international keynote speaker. So traveling all over the world, like your Jim Rohns, Tony Robbins, E.T., the hip hop preacher, all those people. I want to be able to share platforms with them and speak. So that's the goal. Yeah. So that's how I got into
Wow.
speaking. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for letting us in and allowing us to understand that part of you. And I can see how the exposure to different contexts and meeting other people who were inspirational in your life really made a difference. I mean, just to get opportunities to go to Spain and the US,
Yeah.
that's quite a commitment, even on the part of your family, to be able to support you to do that. That is
Well, it's
really
good.
wonderful. Again, our listeners, if you have just joined us, thank you for joining us on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio with your host, Dr. FM. And today, on Today's Africa, we are joined by Sipo Kadzutu, a young man who did not hesitate to tell us how old he is. He's 24, going on 25, but this young man is loaded. And I think one of the reasons I'm saying this, Sipo, is for a young man like yourself, having these experiences and opportunities that you have had in life. And I get a sense that you don't take that for granted at all. And now you are also doing other things as far as work is concerned. And part of the reason for coming up with the title Work Opportunities is because you were not looking for work, but you created work and looked for people to come and be part of what you're doing. And so I want us to get into that, Sipo. Just let us know, how did you um, get into this mindset of being entrepreneurial, being an entrepreneur, uh, creating work for yourself and for others. So you are young. What kind of businesses have you had or are having at the moment, so that as our viewers and listeners uh, listening to you, they will be able to connect with you at that level as we think about your business side as well. I see that we are loading here. We are having a technical difficulty with Sipo at this point, and hopefully he will come back. So again. We're glad, our viewers and listeners, that you have joined us on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. And we are delighted to have Siposenkosi Kadzutu, who is an author, who is a speaker, and who is an entrepreneur. And this young man is sharing some information which I really believe not just our young adults and the youth are listening to, but even grown-ups, because we should always learn from each other. And Sipo is such a gifted young man, and we are hoping that we'll be able to learn a lot more from him today as we talk about this topic: work opportunities for young adults in Africa. And I was just looking at some of the things, I was just reflecting on some of the things he talked about with regards to it's not just uh, action, but with action, we need to have principles. So I see that Sipo is back. So Sipo, just fill us in terms of this focus on being an entrepreneur, business focus. How did you get into this? What's the process that led you to be doing this and to be thinking along this way? It looks like he disappeared again. Hopefully, he will come back. We know that most of our young people, and even grown-ups as well, we look for work, but that's not the only way of approaching this, because we can create work, and those are some of the things that stand out as we have had opportunity to look at what Sipo is doing, and we hope that he will be able to come back. Technical difficulty is actually one of our key engineers. Mr. TY was saying from Zimbabwe. Well, let's hope that we will continue to stay connected. I know that we've had guests from Zimbabwe as well and other parts of the world, and the network was very, very strong. So we really hope that Sipo will be able to come back so that we can continue on this topic: work opportunities for young adults in Africa. He says he's a simple young man who is big on goal setting, leaving a legacy. And he says a legacy is not just leaving stuff, but he says things that you write on people's hearts. Man, that is profound. That is profound, hearing this from a young man who's just 24 years old. Um, it's really wonderful to have young people like him. And he also highlighted the fact that things have to start in the mind. You have to have a mindset that is focused on accomplishing certain things in life. Otherwise, you don't get anything done. And so, Sipo, we're really, really honored to have you with us today. And again, this is your host, Dr. FM on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. And we are live every Saturday at 11 Eastern Standard Time, where we talk about matters pertaining to Africa on various topics, various guests we invite to be part of our program. And we broadcast in over 100 different countries. And we're delighted today that we have Siposenkosi Kadzutu, the young man who is really an example to not just other young people, but also even to those of us who are grown up. And I like to believe we're still growing. So we should all just try to create opportunities to interact. Some of the things I was looking at in preparation for this topic was just around the idea of youth unemployment in Africa. We know that over 80% of the population is in Africa is below 30 years old, and it just proves that Sipo is 24, going on 25, and a lot of unemployment in Africa. And Sipo has found a way to make sure that we are not limited by unemployment because we're trying to look for work. But Sipo has done something, and he is back. Sipo, please let us know, how did you come to be thinking along these lines of creating a business? So what kind of businesses have you had so far, and what is happening now as far as your employment is concerned?
Oh, thank you so much for that. And so sorry. I think the network this side is just a bit erratic, and it keeps dancing, it keeps dropping and picking up. So sorry for just joining in and popping out. It's just the network. Then in terms of business, how I really attribute this to my parents, because growing up, they would always make me watch, videos on, or expose me to videos of young billionaires. At some point in our lives, it was also one school holiday where, mom would be like, "You guys need to, keep yourself updated with the news." And would watch news. And this is in primary school, and we were supposed to report what we heard on the news. So things like that got me interested in what was happening in the world then. So those were great seeds that were sown by my parents there. And then I started to take interest into great businessmen in the world today, like your Warren Buffett, especially Mr. Warren Buffett. I hope I do get the chance to meet him at some point in the near future. So I've always had the desire to start my own business. At the age of 13, uh, I started selling things. I would help out at home. There was this business business opportunity that came up, and we were selling this fuel treatment. So we'd sort of cold call in a sense, but sort of just approach people in their cars and tell them, "Hey, I've got this fuel treatment. Would you like to try it?" So that's sort of my background in sales. So started at 13. So I used to do that every, make a bit of commission out of that. And so yeah, that's how I sort of got into business early. And then also just watching, my parents. And then fast forward, my first job was soon after high school. So I got employed soon after high school, because during my ordinary level exams break, I was working at the same furniture company as an intern of sorts. And then they loved me so much, they wanted me back soon after I finished secondary school. Whilst I was there, I noticed an opportunity where, as you buy furniture from the company, they could have it delivered to you for free after 2 to 3 days. But then I figured, you know what? Some people want their furniture there and there. So a great idea hit me. And then I used to tell customers, if you want your furniture right now, as soon as you buy it, just an extra $20 would help with that. So to them, it wasn't really that much, right? So what I used to do is I would go look for a truck, all right, which was close. Luckily, I was working in the CBD, so I'd get a truck close by. I already had the product that needed to be delivered. Then I'd make my $2 out of that. So I literally bootstrapped in starting my business. So I did that for quite a bit. I think for about a year before one of my mentors told me to register the company. So I registered the company in 2020. The registration papers literally came out a day after I launched my first book. So that was a great thing. And then a year afterwards, I decided, you know what, let me jump into this deep end, which I think is not advisable, but hey, you've got to try something. So I jumped into the deep end and I bought myself a motorcycle from the savings that I had made, and I got into the courier business. So I bought this bike, and then by faith, actually, because the way the price got negotiated down is a whole story on its own. And then I trained how to ride a bike. Let's say I bought it on a Wednesday. The following day, I made a flyer and I posted it. And guess what? I got my first trip. So ever since then, that's how the courier business, sprang up and just started going on with that. So since 2020, we haven't stopped. Now the business has grown. We have four bikers on the road now. We have so many great plans that we want to bring in, and just looking forward to seeing what we can do. So that's just how I got into the courier, that's how I got into the transport business. Then 2 years ago, I decided to diversify and get into the energy business. There's a huge energy crisis in our nations, especially in Zimbabwe. We had a very terrible spell of load shedding because the Kariba Dam had very low levels of water, so electricity generation was very low. And then I got into the energy sector, and yeah, I've just been pushing that for quite a bit, and we're still gaining traction in the market, and now looking forward to also hopefully in the very near future that we should also be growing the team. So that has in turn been an amazing, though stressful on its different days journey. But I think it's fulfilling in the sense that you know you're building something and also creating opportunities for the youth of Africa. Because I believe this is a global business. I don't look at it as just a Zimbabwean business. So that's how I started, bootstrapped into it, and still building on that, still working on it until we get to a point where we'll be internationally dominating. So yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, Sipo, for giving us the inside scoop of your business journey. It's really interesting how you started by saying, here's a fuel treatment, and you would approach people, and now here you are. I'm just fascinated by the fact that you you have had this mindset, and I think you mentioned this at the very beginning, that you need to have a mindset that is just set in a certain direction to allow you to work through something so that you get to where you want to to uh, to get to. And and it's not just about you. I'm also getting this sense that, now you're talking about your full bikes, and now you are into the energy business. It's growing, so you are not just creating work for yourself, but you are also creating work for other young people. Now, do I take it that it's relatively young people, or you just have increased with whoever was available? Are you intentional in terms of young people, or are you just looking at whoever might be interested to partner with you and work for you, or really with you?
So the unemployment spectrum it's not just affecting the youth, but it's affecting every age group from what I have seen. Um, I think I myself, I've never really. It's only when people highlight it when I think of myself as a young person. So I'm always looking for opportunities to help people. What I believe is, if we can work, let's get the work done. So
Mm.
if you look at my team, I think the oldest member in our team is, if I'm not mistaken, should be 54, and he's more youthful than I am. I mean, he's got more energy than me, and he's just so willing to work. And the youngest guy on our team is 19 this year. So I'm really doing my best to accommodate everyone. Yes, I'd love to just build a team, full of the youth, but if if you can see the potential and how great someone can contribute to your team, having that steady balance in your workforce helps to have a balance. I think I should just stick to that word. We'll create a balance within the team. So I think the unemployment is hitting everyone at every age. So that's definitely something that's when it comes to how we interview and bring in people. We just look at your qualifications and if you can do the work. Um, do you deserve to get the work? Can you get the work done? And once we've established that and we can work with you, then we kick it off.
That is very, very encouraging, Sipo. Thank you for mentioning that. I can see that, um, you have quite a diverse team. Just to know that, the youngest is 19 and the oldest is 54. That's quite a range there. And I thank you for maintaining that perspective. And that's commendable, young men, to be able to say, you're looking for work, you're able to do it, let's get the job done, and whosoever would be a part of. And I think that speaks well of your leadership qualities and ability to work with people and make them feel that, I mean, even though I'm 54, I can still have a boss and an owner of the company who is 24, and I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with this. I'm getting paid and I'm getting the job done. And that is wonderful, Sipo. Thank you so much for letting us know. Now, I would imagine that this has not been an easy journey. I know at some point you said that you were diving into something. You jumped into the deep end to do certain, you made certain decisions in order to just grab the bull by the horns. I'd like to believe that you have had some challenges as well. What could have been some of the challenges that you've faced in terms of getting to where you are now? And obviously, there will always be challenges. Someone said that if you're not doing anything, you will never face any challenges. But if you're doing something, you will always find opposition. You will always find um, things that would try to pull you away from where you want to get to. So that becomes a challenge. But with every challenge, you also have opportunities. So, what would be some of the challenges that you have had being, I will repeat, being a young businessman? What are some of the challenges?
I think for me, it's the biggest challenge, well, obviously being a first generation businessman in a sense, where you're not necessarily taking over a business that was started by a parent or something like that. So you don't really have the guidance or the know on how to run that business. So that's the first thing. You're getting into the unknown. The second thing that would come to mind is obviously, learning how to manage people. Because I think people might actually not look at how important it is, but human resources is actually one of the greatest resources. And if you get the human resources right, then business becomes easier to run for you. So I remember for a long time we had a very challenging time trying to find the right person for administration, the right bikers. You'd always come across different types of people. So one of the challenges that I would face is, as you get into business, you get to learn that when people pitch up for an interview, that's literally their best self, right? And their best self is not what will carry on. It's what will happen is they'll have bad days, and from their best at that interview date, they're gonna start coming down in terms of performance or how they presented themselves. So becoming a great judge of character is something that I've learned, and it has been a challenge because sometimes you think you've figured it out, and then you realize no, you missed it with this one. And then the other challenge is just learning to fire as soon as you hire, that sort of thing. If someone isn't working well or gelling well with the team, because sometimes you want to have a heart in business, but business is business at the end of the day sometimes. So I think just sometimes what they call it, I think when it comes to the ship industry, is when the storm is there, you just need to lighten the loads and the burdens in the boat, so that the boat can actually move forward. So learning to be able to do that has also been a challenge, because imagine telling someone who's probably 20 years older than you, saying, "Hi, I'm stopping you from working here." It takes great courage and boldness, and uh, learning to build the language around that courage and the boldness to do that, especially in our culture where we have high reverence for people who are older than us. Just learning to say, "You're fired, I'm letting you go," and then you give the reasons, is always a bit of a challenge. So, yeah, those are some of the challenges. And then I would love to talk about the economic environment, but I've reached a point in my life where you have to adapt to the economy and make the best out of it. So obviously we would love it to have would love to have the best conditions for us to trade and all of that. So that has also been one of the greatest challenges, just having an environment that fosters or allows growth in economy that does that. So especially if you're a young entrepreneur and you're doing your best to get your name known in an industry where there are other players as well, can be very difficult, because in an economic environment like this, people usually go for the big guys and the people that they trust. So creating a name becomes a very long, strenuous, and sometimes discouraging journey, because you get to a point where people will be like, "Oh, who are you? What are your references?" And sometimes having a reference, you'll be like, "You're one of my first customers. Let me have the opportunity from you, and then I'll show you what we can do." Most people don't like to give new guys a chance. So if you're a business and you're listening, give the young guys a chance, and they will show you. So I'm just grateful that God has given me opportunities to be able to interact with different businesses and customers. We're getting into our fifth year now in business, and I think it's such a great achievement. And we're just looking forward to the next 100 or so years, of great trading and growth. And yeah, I think those are some of the main challenges that we get, especially in from my experience. Yeah.
Again, this is Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. Thank you for joining us. We are on today's Africa with Siposenkosi Kadzutu, who is a speaker, an author, an entrepreneur, a young man who has been doing business from such a young age and has actually sharpened his tools over the years, and now involved in the energy industry, the energy business. And he actually said that he wants this to go global, and rightly so, because I mean, someone has said the sky is the limit, but not even the sky should be the limit. We should go beyond the sky. So there's just so much potential and so much opportunity. And so if you're joining us, please uh, do share this channel with others as well, so that others get to be part of our dialogues. Sipo, some of the things that we have found out when it comes to work opportunities for young adults and young men, yeah, the young and the old in Africa, is something that you have alluded to. You said economy, you said we need to adapt to the economic environment. And this is easier said than done, because many of our economies in various African countries, they're really, really struggling. And but I liked what you said. We can't continue to blame and point fingers at that. We need to adapt, but still make things work. And that takes a lot of intentionality as far as doing your homework and finding out what is working and what is not working. How best can we uh, make things happen? Now, what sort of skills do you feel that you picked up and you were prepared um, to have to be able to sustain you in the kind of business you are doing now? I'm saying this, Sipo, because oftentimes we talk about our education is not preparing our young people for work because there is hardly enough work opportunities. And we're saying, no, it's not about work opportunities being there and we look for them, but we are talking about creating them. But I think there has to be some kind of a skills and who you are, your personality. There has to be some kind of a match so that there's no skills mismatch. So, what kind of skills did you find that you picked up earlier to allow you to be where you are today with this mindset? I know you made reference to exposures to different people, but what what have you done intentionally in terms of skills, picking up skills to help you to get to where you are today?
Thank you. So obviously, the first thing is communication, because you want to be able to communicate your product very well. Either you want to do it silently or speaking about the product. So that is definitely something that you need to work on. So you need to be able to communicate what service you're offering, how you offer it, how it will benefit the customer, and why they should jump onto it, and why it would be a bad decision for them not to join you. So you need to be able to fully communicate why they should bank on your word and bet on your product. So obviously, number one is communication, and then number two is, I think it's pretty simple. Just get on with it. You don't really need a skill for that. You just need to just get up and start moving. Some people are very skilled at procrastinating. You're like a professional procrastinator where you wait and wait and wait. Like, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes tomorrow. And I saw a very interesting quote the one time, and it says procrastination is the thief of not time but your time. Because if you
Mm,
think about it, you're the one who's growing older. You're the one who's losing out on the opportunity. So stop procrastinating. Start on that project. Start on that project. Start on that YouTube channel. Start on that online business. So the ability to communicate, then start. I think that those are the first two skills that you obviously need, and then. Um, I think the third thing for me personally is just having the courage. I don't know if I can say courage is a skill, but when I look at it, having the ability to going going out there to do it whilst you're scared. You know, Courage is not the absence of fear, but it's not letting fear stop you. Right. So have the courage. I don't know if we can say develop it as a skill, but just develop the willingness, the willpower to go for what you want. So I think ultimately those are the two, three skills that I can say, go for. And yeah.
Sipo, thank you for for mentioning these, because these are very, very important skills. I think we will use the word skills at this point. Communication skills, and you said not just being able to articulate and sell your product. But get started. You know, you have something. Let's
Mhm.
hit the road. Let's
Exactly.
go somewhere with it. No procrastination. I liked what you say, that procrastination is the thief um, of your time, and not just time but your time, because other people may not be doing the same. So it's not, you cannot generalize it, so you have to look at your own time. I like that. And then
Yes.
you talked about courage and saying that courage is not necessarily the absence of fear, but actually not letting fear be the one thing that would stop you from not getting anywhere. Like you said, move on, get started from where you are. I think someone has said that the best way to get anywhere is to start from where you are. So we
That's
need
true.
to just grab the bull by the horns and go in a certain direction. Now I know that in this day and age, and especially in Africa, we continue to tell many of our young men and young women, education is important, go to school. Education is important, go to school. And I'm hearing you saying yes, but there is more to education than just thinking, I've done my O levels, I've done my A levels, and now I'm looking for work. Because you have created work. You've said, I'm not going to be looking for somebody to give me work, but I'm going to be creating work for myself. And now, if you were talking to a group of young people, and Sipo, I would imagine that in Zimbabwe right now, there is quite a population of young people without work.
Mhm.
And oftentimes that creates poverty. It creates a hopelessness. Many of our young people, they're turning to drug abuse, illegal drugs. They are turning to, I guess, a way of social exclusion. They are keeping to themselves and becoming the only voice they listen to, which is very, very deadly. I mean, it's dangerous. And
Mm.
so I am, and then of course we have others who've ended up leaving Africa, migrating, or they have immigrated to other neighboring countries or overseas, because I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live here anymore. And there is value in doing that. And for some of them, it really works out. But I am thinking about those who are there, not working, maybe even hopelessness have settled in, as I've mentioned, maybe even suicidal. What would you say to them if we were to round them up, if we were to go into um, uh, the city of Harare right now and just gather some of those young people in the on I believe there's the center of the street, and we made a big gathering, and we said, ladies and gentlemen, today we have Siposenkosi Kadzutu, who is going to be speaking to you. What would Sipo say to them? Not necessarily the whole speech, but what would be the highlights of things that you would like to bring to their attention with regards to employment opportunities?
That's that's such a very, very, very good question. But I think the first thing first is they first. I think it's very evident where they are. Right, they're unemployed. Right. What I would implore them to do is to look within themselves and see what they can do to serve the community. Because once you offer value, have a mindset to generate value to get $1. Let's not even start about it. Let's not even think about $1 million. Let's start with $1. Have the mindset to generate value for someone, and then you start working on building that bank that you have there. Once you start doing that, set goals and milestones, which is tip number two, onto the next thing that you need to buy or get into so that you can start upgrading yourself and getting more people involved, working with you or working for you. So there just really needs to be a change of mindset, which is, I think, that's the most critical thing. If you change your mindset, then you start thinking in a way that generates value for people, offer value and offer services that are beneficial to the community. There's this one thing that I learned from, I was listening to a round table of African billionaires. I think they had a conference in Nigeria. No, it was Rwanda actually, and they were saying developing countries are the ones that actually provide the biggest or the highest number of opportunities for you to start a business because there's so many problems to solve. All right. So the third thing, or in fact, one of the things I would also say is open your eyes, look at a problem that you can solve. What can you fix? And in turn, get value out of that. And obviously, you started at that, and I think once you get people rolling in that direction, they find their feet as they go. And obviously, I'll tell them this one thing: it's gonna be hard. It's going to be very difficult, but you need to choose your hard. Choose either the hard of waiting on the streets without any employment, or choose the hard of creating employment with this great, huge opportunity of making it big one day and being able to actually create working opportunities for young adults, and not just young adults, but for Africans. Yeah.
Mm, thank you, Sipo. Um, you know what? Just listening to you, I am learning things and saying to myself, you are the kind of young man that we need to have reproduced. We need to have more of this uh, kind of mindset, this kind of an approach to life reproduced in our communities, so that our young people realize that they have something to give. And you mentioned this well by saying, look within, look at yourself. What's the value within you that you can highlight? And
Mhm.
from there, try to build on that. And not just for yourself, and say, okay, how do I put this? How do I communicate this value to other people so that they can also look at life differently? I was saying this, or I'm saying this from the perspective of um, just a sense of hopelessness that we are finding right across Africa. Young people getting together doing nothing, spending their
Oh yeah.
time or wasting their time doing nothing. And as a result, there isn't a whole lot of stuff that can come out of sitting there doing nothing. You're not being creative. And I am wondering, what would it take to create opportunities for for them to hear voices like the voice that you have? If then, okay, so here we have said, ladies and gentlemen, listen to Sipo. Now we want to take Sipo to a group of older people who have businesses and who are working. What would Sipo say to them in terms of young adults, employment opportunities? What are some of the things that come to your mind in if you were to be invited to say, Sipo, we know you're not perfect, but you're a perfectly good young man. Now, you have been doing some good things, and come and share with us some of those good things that you have been doing, and how best can we come alongside you so that you can help more? What would you need to say to them, and what would you expect from them?
That would be great, actually. So, I think one of the things, obviously, is to firstly have an empowerment sort of pool, right? Not just to make the young adults feel good, but to actually equip them for the soft skills or equip them with the skills that are needed to develop a nation.
Mm.
Arguably, we have probably the youngest and probably the largest working population in the world right now. So I would implore them, you know what, let's invest into this and start looking at how, we can actually start solving problems that we have in society, problems that you big companies are facing, and let's give it to the young adults, right? And obviously, I think I would also like to imagine that in the room would have, top government officials per se. Then I would say, hey, let's create policies that will make living standards, much affordable for these young people, so that it will not be a strain on the big businesses to be funding this. But once the young adults are now equipped with the skills to start working, they can generate income for the businesses or for the organization, or even generate income for themselves so that they can also have a good standard of living. So, creating policies around that, and just for the young adults out there who have, like myself, have taken the initiative to start or venture into business, I would implore the bigger guys to, hey, look into it, support, have some venture capital available. I think that's something that's really lacking in our environment, because most of the available capital is a loan. And a loan, whilst you when you have a loan coming into your business, instead of you focusing your energy on creating more and developing your business more, you're now mostly thinking about, I have a debt to fix, a debt to pay. So having venture capital that will allow entrepreneurs to really explore their creativity and really focus on solving the problems, because basically that's what entrepreneurship is all about. That's why businesses exist. Obviously, the sole purpose of a business is to make money, but they only make money if they can solve a problem. So if you give me the rope, or the capital enough for me to solve the problem the best way I see it can be solved, eventually, if done right, funded right, the the money would just be a symptom of the great work that would have started. So just having funds ready, to equip youngsters like myself, who would like to venture, who have already ventured into business, having a fund ready to equip youngsters to be able to work, uh, either soft skills work or hard, what you call it, hard skills work, your plumbing, because a lot of development is going around. It's a developing country, so you need a lot of builders, you need a lot of plumbers, you need a lot of craftsmen, people who know how to, weld and, do all this, these practical things. I think a lot of youngsters are also running away from those things. They should get into those skills, and I think if we have a fund that can also train people to do that, and then, bond them to the business, bond them to a construction company, bond them to a call center, bond them to a telecommunications company, a bank, equip them with the right skills. And yeah, just uh, to the big guys, also create, revive the manufacturing industry. You have a lot of youngsters out there that cannot cross O levels, or maybe have crossed O levels, but they don't have enough funding to go all the way up to A level. Obviously, the first thing that they're going to look for is work that they can do with their hands. So let's open up the industries, right? And even in the industries, let's still equip them to keep upgrading their skills, because what we want is to keep developing their mindset, so that their mindset are not just stuck at a development level, but they are looking at having a developed country. You look at countries like, Singapore, to achieve such a status as a nation, you need a certain mindset amongst the people, because a country is not the buildings, is not the how good it looks. A country is basically the people, and what you see in the country should be a reflection of what you see in the people. So yeah, those are, I think that's what I would tell the older generation, or the big guys in business. So but yeah.
That's quite a loaded perspective you have shared there, young man. And again, this is Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We are on today's Africa, talking to or having a dialogue with Siposenkosi Kadzutu. And we are just so delighted that you have made time to be with us. And for those of you who have been with us, I'm looking at the time and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's already over an hour that we have been having this conversation. And obviously, we need to land the plane now. But Sipo, thank you so much for making time to be with us. And I am just so grateful that we do have young people of your caliber in Africa who have not taken themselves out of Africa, but stayed in Africa and saying, what can I do? What can I create to make sure that I'm creating work for myself, but also creating work for other people? And obviously, this is commendable. So, Sipo, if you were to say, you know what, and by the way, Sipo, we will have you come back because you talked about this energy business, and we didn't really get into that in terms of what exactly are you doing? Are you into solar? Are you into harnessing this? Are you create? What are you? So we need to bring you back, and that's not a threat; it's a promise. Okay, so we will have you come back, but for today, I'm just wondering, in the light of all some of the things that we've talked about, what could be some of the things you would like to leave with our viewers and listeners? And just think in terms of the older and the young. If you just want to focus on the young, by all means, because this is an educational opportunity, really. And Sipo, I must thank you for being who you are and being able to share your perspectives. And these are not like textbook, dialogues. You're talking about the lived experience. So, what are some of the things that stand out for you? You would like to say, you know what? Before I leave today, I just want you to. I want to leave this with you.
One of the things I love to that I've been personally walking through and I think is very valuable. You'd think, hey, I'm I've been in business for quite a bit, uh, so I shouldn't be going through all of this. But I think my final words is find your feet.
Mm,
Wherever you are, find your feet. Take time to just look at where you are. And I think most people are so busy. We are so busy running our business. We're so busy working. We forget to really check where we are. The importance of finding your feet is it will help you to gather up all the experiences that you have experienced, and then it also give you an opportunity to look at the next level you want to get into. And mind you, I haven't even asked you to start acting yet. But once you find out where you want to get into, then you start, you embrace where you are, you then look into where you want to go, you start setting plans on where you want to go and how you're going to do it. But the first thing you need to do is find your feet before you act. So it doesn't take too long. 1 hour per day can help you find your feet. You get to learn from past experiences. And once you've finished with finding your feet, then take action.
mm. Sipo, you are a very, very articulate young man, and thank you for those closing remarks. And just, I like the phrase you used. Find your feet. Where are you? And when you have
Exactly.
found that, embrace, embrace. And I think you used that word, which is a powerful word. Find where you are. Find your feet. Where are you? Embrace, and then set plans to get where you want to get to. I mean, it couldn't be simpler than that. We know that there's a whole lot more it would take to actually get there, but I think your clarity in terms of this presentation is really, really helpful. And so, again, We're just so grateful that you have made time to be with us, and we know where to find you, so we will find you and bring you back so that you can fill us in on what is really happening with the energy business, because we know that even though many of our African countries have really struggled within the energy industry, there's a lot of water. We have rain, and sometimes we have torrential rains and storms and all that. So water
Mhm.
is there.
Mhm.
And we have a lot of sunlight, sunshine. Let's put it to use. And young people like yourself who are creative, we are grateful because we know that Africa is in good hands. When we look at young people like yourself, even at 24 going on 25, for you to have this kind of a mindset, I really, really hope, Sipo, and pray that God would continue to use you and create opportunities for you to
Thank you.
share these concepts and these ideas with other young people, because it really pains my heart when I hear of young people committing suicide because there's hopelessness. And you are saying there is hope. There are some things that we can do. And so, again, we're just so delighted that you've made time to be with us. Again, this is Today's Africa on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. And this has been your host, Dr. FM. And we're delighted that we had Siposenkosi all the way from Zimbabwe sharing some of his journey as far as speaking, authoring a book. And he actually says that he has some books in the making. And then, of course, talking about his entrepreneurship and some of the businesses that he has done as a young man. And you know what? This is encouraging because I think it tells a story about young people can be creative instead of looking for work, going to school to look to work for someone. Go to school to learn skills so that you can create employment for yourself. And so we're just really delighted. And so I'm very, very thankful that uh, Afrobeat Music Talk Radio here has created a platform for us to have these dialogues with brothers and sisters, friends around the world. And like I said, we broadcast in over 100 different countries around the world. And please uh, subscribe, like, and share the channel with others as well. And so, again, thank you for being with us today. I just want to remind you that coming up at 1 p.m. is the Caribbean Flavor with Mr. Marcus and Miss Janet to Blue. Miss Jan to Blue. And I was thinking about that and thinking, oh, in native culture, in the North American native culture, Black people are not black. Some people have used the word black. They are actually blue people. So when I lived and worked on First Nations reserve and community, they used to call me the blue person. So Jan to Blue, kudos to you. So again, listeners, thank you for being with us today. This is your host, Dr. FM, signing off. We'll see you next week again for another podcast. Thank you for being with us and keep up the good work. Let's continue to be a voice of hope to our young people because the best is yet to come. Thank you very much. Adios.